In this video, we're using the uchigatana, the basic katana that you start out with, the samurai class that you find in Limgrave, with an Ash of War that you can get early on in the game as well. Now, this is incredibly strong. You can use this in the early game, late game, whenever you want. It's incredible. Now, this is called the Flame of the Redmanes Ash of War. It gives you an intense fire buff to your weapon here. So we're using it with the uchigatana, but you can obviously use this with any kind of weapon you want. The main thing is the Ash of War, the Flame of the Redmanes itself, has an extreme capability to stagger enemies just with the flames itself. This is footage here where I was level 36, I just got the sword and the Ash of War very early on the game in Limgrave here, fighting the Bloodhound Knight. You can see the amount of damage I'm doing relative to like how much HP and endurance I have, for example, right? So in this build, I actually started out with Meteoric and the uchigatana that we started with Samurai, and I'm just using this Ash of War that you can use a couple times here, and look how much damage you do to enemies here. You can beat so many of the first bosses way too easily. Just for reference, these are the stats that I'm using at this low level. This is like a great weapon to start the game off with a very strong kind of start. To show you some more footage of how this works is, even if enemies have shields or anything, it staggers them in one hit or even two hits. Especially at low level, low game, you're going to stagger enemies so easily, get a free critical hit off of most of them, and you're going to just play the whole game like that. Now, because this is a faith build, you do have access to fire spells, and we're going to be using a lot of boosting stuff to fire, especially towards the later game of this build. And you'll see here, it's extremely effective. Like, look at these clean drop knights. Normally, you can struggle with these enemies, but with the fire, you just clean them up in like 1 to 2 hits. It's just fantastic. Pairing this with the finger seal and like fire spells in the game, or the fire incantations, you have a deadly build that is capable of dealing with so many things here. Look at the stagger of this, dude. The dogs go down in one Ash of War. One Ash of War is enough to stagger them. Literally. Look here again. Just boom. Doesn't matter the distance. As long as the fire hits them, and it does go quite a distance, it lets you stagger and stun everything. And obviously when you stab them, you set the enemy on fire. So it's a really, really fun, great weapon to start out the whole game with. And obviously, because it's a faith build, you have so much access to so many other fire-type weapons, like the Blasphemous Blade, or Vike's War Spear, which we'll be doing a video on soon. And also, you can even go into holy-type weapons if an enemy isn't, weak to fire. So this is the stats that I'm using here. You can see we have a lot of points into faith. We have some dexterity for the katana as well. And then the rest is just vigor, mind, and endurance, as much as you feel comfortable with. So the main weapon here we're using is obviously the uchigatana itself. It's got the Ash of War, the Flame of the Redmanes, in the Flame Art Affinity. As you can see here, this is it fully upgraded. In our offhand, we have the giant seal, the finger seal that we can get towards the end game, but you can use any other seal towards the early game. And basically, this one boosts your giant's flame incantation, so all those fire spells that you can do will make them very effective. The armor I'm wearing is just this. It's one of my favorite armor sets in the game. I'm wearing it just purely for the looks. Our talismans here, we have the Fire Scorpion Charm, which raises our fire attack, but lowers our damage negation. And then we have the Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of our skills, like the Flame of the Redmanes. Then we have the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, which greatly raises the attack power the more times we attack with successive attacks. And then obviously the Carrion Filigreed Crest, which lowers the FP consumption of our skills. And then our Wondrous Physic here has a temporary boost to fire attacks, as well as temporarily boosting our successive attack power for hitting enemies over and over. Now, you know that you can get the uchigatana by starting with the Samurai class or getting it in Limgrave quite easily at a little dungeon location, but the Ash of War itself over here, when you do get the Ash of War, early game you're probably not going to have the Flame or the Flame Art affinities over here, which actually allow you to scale the weapon with Faith. So in early game, you're not going to scale it from Faith, you're going to scale it from Dexterity, right? You're going to get this Ash of War, the Flame of the Redmanes, right over here at the entrance of Caelid. You'll see like one of those like invisible running kind of, scarabs running around in a circle. When you kill it, you will get the Flame of the Redmanes Ash of War. So you can just pop into here, kill that. You honestly don't even need to fight anything just to get this. It's super easy to get, and you can get it at the lowest level as long as you get to this area without, dying to anything else. And that makes a very, very strong flame katana build for early game and late game. It's a fantastic weapon. I hope you guys enjoyed this build, and thank you so much for watching.